Hello, this is Digital Accessibility, the people behind the progress. I'm Joe Walensky, the creator and host of this series. And as an accessibility professional myself, I find it very interesting as to how others have found their way into this profession. So let's meet one of those people right now and hear about their journey. Well, hello, here we are again. I'm Joe Walensky with an episode where I have the opportunity to speak with an accessibility practitioner. And today I'm pleased to be speaking with Miriam Nabinger. Hello, Miriam. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing well. How do you do?
Good. Well, it's early for me in my day on Vashon Island, which is near Blink's Seattle headquarters. Where are you talking to us from?
I'm based in Vienna, Austria. So a bit like later in the day today.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's a lovely city. I've been there and had a good time. I think on 2 visits to Vienna. So hopefully we get back again sometime.
Oh, it'd be lovely.
Well,
I haven't been to Vienna yet.
it's good to have you here on the program. We do like to meet people from all around the world, and so it's good to be able to visit with an accessibility practitioner from Vienna. So probably the best place to start is if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you're doing right now.
Sure. So right now, I've been a freelancer for the last 2 years. I mainly worked in UX design, but also on the side as an accessibility specialist and as a consultant for companies. And right now I'm trying to make a full-time business out of this. And my mission is actually to empower companies, but also actually the designers, developers, product managers, testers on how to implement and create more accessible products. And I want to teach them this. So right now I'm just building the community. I'm trying to get in touch with a lot of people, learn a lot of new things. I've did it for a few companies already. And it's just something that I really enjoy. I want to teach people what I love and what creates the passion in me. And this is one of the things.
Well, I'm going to want to ask you a little bit more about your current accessibility work. But one thing that would be interesting to know, if you have some information, is what accessibility is like for business in your part of the world. Are there any things that are specific or unique to Austria or that area of Europe that you feel might be different in culture or requirements from other parts of the world that you've noticed?
I think Austria is a country in terms of like accessibility and also like LGBT, for example, we're a bit behind sometimes because I know that we do have many accessible public spaces and also digital spaces, but it's just on personally, I think it's on the lower end of the spectrum. Like it's not actively communicated and there's not any awareness in any other business than public, which is, I think, is a shame. I know it's similar in other countries as well, that it's just not as broad of a topic, except if it's in public. But I wish it would be more active here because the awareness is not there, to be honest. They just know they need to do it for public and for governmental things, but anything else is just kind of guessing. And I wish you would do more for that.
Well, it sounds like it'll both be more opportunities for you to do that work, but also a lot of hard work to help make people more aware.
Yeah, like creating the first step of awareness is, I think, the hardest step for me now.
Yeah, well, I still go through that all the time. So one of the things I do is work with our clients to help them understand the importance of investing in accessibility, and it's still a lot of education to get to make that part of the budget and make people understand that there's a good business case for it in addition to other factors.
Very
Well,
much.
I do want to know a little bit about how you found your way to accessibility. We try to make this program a model for others to see how they can fit into this profession. So, where did it start for you? Where you first became aware of accessibility and then decided that was where you wanted to do your work?
It's actually like it was more like I fell into it more or less. Like it was an accident or like coincidence actually, because I've worked at IBM for 4.5 years, like close to 5 actually. And during my time as a designer there, we had an introduction to accessibility training from one of their teams. They flew in someone from Washington, DC, and they gave us like an introduction to accessibility. And back then it was like I haven't seen it before, and it was so interesting to me. First, I was very impressed, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things because I later noticed that there are so many overlaps between usability and accessibility. And right now, I strongly believe that accessibility is at the core of usability. It won't work otherwise. And so I had this class, learned a lot from it. And a year after, they asked me if I would um, be willing or interested in creating an internal learning for our cross-functional team. And I did that. And it was one of the most amazing things I've ever done because it was for me so exciting. And I just loved sharing this importantness with other people and teaching them how to do it. And then I figured, okay, this is actually what I want to do. And in the years following, I tried to implement a lot of these things into my daily product cycle and the product design cycle I do. And now I really want to get the word out and teach other people who might not be that aware of it yet, especially like, for example, developers, they don't learn it in school. And I wish someone would be there to actually tell them how do you do it so that it's like a long-term investment for them.
Well, so it sounds like it was nice that you were able to be at IBM where you had that initial person come in to talk about that, but then after that, there's a lot involved in learning about accessibility and finding out how to do all the various things that are involved. So how did that work out? Did you lean on resources within IBM to be able to build it up in your projects, or how did you build up your own career now or your own knowledge about it?
Well, what I did primarily at the beginning, I studied the IBM accessibility checklist a lot because I do believe that they have great resources there and gave me everything I needed to get started and have like actual examples I could actually use to tell other people like, hey, this is how it works. And I studied the guidelines a lot, also did the Google course, and just it was a lot of learning by doing. And I tried to teach myself, okay, how do I use the screen reader? How do I actually test? And what are the possibilities? So there was a lot of research on my part involved. And it was a lot of learning by doing. And then also asking other people, as well as like people who actually work in the sector, as well as disabled people, and ask them about their experiences, if there's something I can learn. And even now I'm like, I learn something new every day because it's just something I'm not used to.
And then after that, was that when you began your own work,
Yes.
right from that position?
Yes, after I
Well,
left.
well, I mean that's I started working for myself early on in my career, and I remember it was a lot of work and it was kind of scary to be doing that. I know it's more common today for people early in their career to just decide to do their own thing. But how has that adjustment been going from a very large, prominent organization with a regular paycheck to doing this type of work where it's really up to you to find your own way?
It was a journey because I quit my job the beginning of the pandemic, more or less. And I was like, okay, I guess this is how I do it. It was a big change, but I had to pick up. I'm very grateful that I had a lot of knowledge and awareness from my time at IBM. But I was also very grateful of discovering so many new things about myself and also about how I actually want to work and where I want to put my focus on next. It was a big change and it's still something that I need to get used to. But it's like, I think it built my character, but it was not that easy, but I wouldn't miss it now.
And so, with the projects that you've worked on your own, what is like a typical project like, or what's a typical week in your work life for this
That
type of
really
work?
depends on how many different clients I have, like how many different areas I work with. The latest one was like a Swedish startup. They came to me because they said they wanted to improve the accessibility of their design system and also about the website because they had like a new rebranding, but they're not happy with the rebranding. So we took the time to actually sit down like, hey, okay, what's actually the problem and where do you want my help? And I made an audit for them in terms of like, what's the current accessibility of their product? Then they came to me like, hey, can you actually also teach us the basics and also like what we can do? So there was also like a learning involved for them, for their whole design team in this case, and also for the developers here. I gave like an introduction to accessibility and also to certain custom role segments. And I gave them a list of resources, recommendations. And in the few months afterwards, we went through the implementation together and we discussed, I was always there if they needed any questions. So I gave them like a roadmap on how they can improve and what they should take care of. And I helped them in achieving this.
And from what you've learned from your practice so far, what are the areas that you've found to be the most challenging to be able to help your clients?
I think it probably culture, because it's they know if they have a checklist what to do, but personally, accessibility is more like a mindset change and having the right culture in the company. That's both accessibility and inclusion. And I had a hard time discussing that with them and them getting to accept it actually, because they already have their culture and now they need to change it. So that was a bit tricky. And I still believe that's a tricky part because mindset change doesn't happen overnight.
Well, in the time that you've been involved in accessibility, do you see any patterns of things that you're looking forward to in the future? Do you see certain areas that need more work from the accessibility profession than others, or are there certain things that you're excited to be working on in the future that you're just starting to get involved with?
Mm-hmm. Personally, I think that the area of e-commerce is a bit lacking when it comes to accessibility, because that's the area where I think we can do way more, and not just like in public space, but like any e-commerce sector, because there's just not a lot of, it's mostly prefix templates, but there's like issues in templates already. So there would be change needed there. And I'm looking forward to getting into the current movement where accessibility is, with the change of the European directive, there's like a new movement right now with people being even more aware of the necessity. And I'm kind of happy about joining this movement and being there to support other companies here.
And so as you do that, are there other groups or communities in your area that it's possible to get involved with, or are you going to be going to conferences and things now that the pandemic is over?
Yes, I would love to, and I already signed up for a few. Right now, I'm networking in Vienna here. That's both with creatives, but also developers. So I'm joining the network here and see what can be done, or if there's anything I can do to help. And I hope I can join more conferences soon. So hopefully in person. But the best accessibility conferences are normally abroad. So I might have to travel for that.
Well, I went to my first conference since the pandemic started was CSUN back in March, and it was fun to be out among people again. So maybe we'll meet up at a future event. But I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. It was really interesting to hear how you've started out on your own individual business exploration of accessibility. And so, good luck with everything that you're working on.
Thank you very much. It was so nice to be with you here.